Hey guys, it's Olivia and welcome back to Live in Literature. Thank you so much for all the love and support I received in my last video, and if you have not seen it yet, feel free to head on over to my channel to check it out. Well guys, we're gonna hop right into it today. Now today's title, as you've seen from the video title, you might be a little bit concerned. And I say, fear not, dear people. Your queen has come.
Ha! The king has returned.
And she's gonna explain some things. Because as you've seen for the title of today's videos, we have Book Boyfriends HIMBO's edition, or HIMBO edition, whatever. Now, I mean this in the highest compliment. I love a himbo. I really, really, really do, okay? I mean this with the highest compliment possible. This is not to tear down hot and beautiful men in literature, okay? I say this with the utmost respect and pride and dignity because let's be real, some of my book boyfriends, if not most of my book boyfriends, are a little bit of a himbo, okay? And for those of you out in the crowd who are wondering what is a himbo, I looked it up. The dictionary says, it's like Urban Dictionary. The title of himbo is essentially a sexual and or sexualized man, somewhat naive and somewhat lacking intelligence. Now,
I'm lacking in the brain department that makes me this way.
Before y'all come for my throat, before y'all come and cut my throat, I think all my book boyfriends, the ones that I have, are extremely intelligent and very, very smart. But I do think that some, I'm not naming names yet, have a tendency to be a little bit of a himbo, a little bit more on the unintelligent side, a little bit more on the prancing, a little bit showboaty sexual side, which I love. I love when these men have some confidence, that they know they're all that in a bag of chips. Sometimes, okay? I'm not gonna let them get away with it all the time, but sometimes it's okay.
That's really dumb. But he's so cool! But that's so dumb!
And I will say several of my book boyfriends, and many that I have a little bit of that himbo energy. I'm not saying they're complete himbos, but they have a little bit of that sexualized, slightly naive, a little bit, sometimes they can be a little dumb, not always knowing what's going on energy. I'm not saying they're not smart, and I'm not saying that all they are is a good thing to look at. Because they're both of those things, but also not just that, okay? They have lots of other qualities that make them very special.
You're my special friend.
But you know what we love to do on this channel? We love to objectify fictional men, okay? Objectifying fictional men is what we do, okay? Sometimes I just want to come on here and I want to objectify men.
I took him to my penthouse and I freaked it. I want to freak him.
And you know what? I don't think I should be judged for that. Because sometimes they're just real good looking and they're over there smirking because they know they're all that in a bag of chips. And you know what? I just want to admire it sometimes and talk about some of my himbo boyfriends, okay? Some of my himbo boyfriends who, yes, in the grand scheme of things, are extremely intelligent, beautiful, sought after, very wise and compassionate and kind, and have all these gorgeous qualities that we love, 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 but also give off a little bit of a himbo energy. Okay. And I would say that at least for me, I have a tendency to lean towards these kinds of guys, in books. The himbo energy is low-key what I lean towards. Very much for those of my DC superhero nerd who get this, kind of the Flash energy, if you guys have seen The Flash or know of The Flash or Kid Flash, whatever.
Is it wrong that I think I'm hot?
I think The Flash gives off kind of that low-key himbo energy a little bit. Just a little. He's a little too smirky, I think, but he kind of gives off that energy. So I would say that my type usually leans that way sometimes in books, but don't get me wrong. I love our morally gray, dark, brooding bad boys, are very much high intellect men. And of course, my man of all mans, Mr. Rowan Whitethorn, I would not place in this category. He is above all things. He's just God tier boyfriend. But I would say that he has, he can have a little bit of those qualities every now and again. But today I'm here to recommend for you some Book Boyfriends Himbo edition, just to have a little bit of fun, spice up your reading material. Maybe you're sick of the morally gray, always thinking kind of boyfriend. Maybe you want someone who's just really strong and powerful, but compassionate and kind, and just something different, something to mix it up a little bit. So here are some of my Book Boyfriends Himbos edition. Let's get started. The first book boyfriend I want to talk about is one from my favorite YA Greek mythology fantasy series. This one is Daughter of Sparta by Claire M. Andrews. Daughter of Sparta. I absolutely adore this book. This book is incredible. I love a Greek mythology retelling, and I love putting women at the forefront of Greek mythology retellings because women were always running things behind the scenes in the Greek mythology world, and we never get to hear about them. So I love when they're taking center stage in my favorite books. This one, we are talking about one of my favorite himbos of all time, Mr. Apollo in Daughter of Sparta. So Daughter of Sparta, to give you a quick synopsis, is about a young woman named Daphne. She's competing in a competition. She's 17, she's competing. She ends up running into like Artemis in the forest when she's competing in this competition. Artemis basically says, like, blackmails her by saying, like, I'm gonna kill your brother if you don't go find these like 9 missing items from Mount Olympus. And Artemis is like, and to keep an eye on you while you're doing this, I'm gonna send my brother Apollo to join you on your quest. And Apollo, very much, as most gods I would say are in the Greek mythology world, very self-assured, very good looking, very powerful and very strong and very witty, but also a little bit of a himbo, okay? He's a little too self-assured, a little too arrogant, and he really has to like humble himself before Daphne to like really get things done. In this book, I adore Apollo. I think he's great. I think he's witty and charismatic. Obviously, he's sexy as all get out. He's a god, like, duh, hello.
She sounds hideous.
Well, she's a guy, so...
And he and Daphne have incredible chemistry. So I definitely recommend Daughter of Sparta if you're wanting to check out a Greek mythology retelling with a very sexy Apollo to look at. Next we have, again, another Greek mythology, but except this time it's an urban contemporary retelling of a Greek mythology, fantasy, whatever. Very Percy Jackson vibes. We have Lore by Alexander Bracken. And Lore, essentially, again, another female-driven Greek mythology story, which, like, I love. Lore is about a young woman named Lore Perseus, who essentially her family was killed in this hunt that the Olympians do, like, once a year or whatever, in different places around the world. This year it's taking place in New York City. Lore wants to seek revenge against the gods for, like, what they did to her family, and so she decides to join the hunt, but also joining the hunt this year, which means having to fight one of her childhood best friends, Castor, in this hunt. Essentially will like lead them to either be allies or be enemies, and we'll see what happens next on their journeys.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Lore, essentially, like, very strong-willed, very beautiful, very just like trying to get the job done. And we have gorgeous Castor, who is very sexy, very Greek vibe, very honestly very Apollo vibe, similarly to Claire M. Andrews, Daughter of Sparta.
Story is
you listen to him? He's making the story sound like some Greek tragedy.
Lighten up, dude.
Very Greek mythology vibes, very just like self-assured, very like arrogant. I would say that he and Lore have a very cute and very like honest, open relationship. Obviously they want to work together, but Lore's like desire to do, like to achieve her goals, like kind of like overpower some of those things. And she just doesn't know if she can trust him, but she wants him and he wants her. And he's very sexy and very himbo. And like, I kind of live for it. Like he's kind of the man.
You the man! Well, sort of.
So I have to give it up to Alexander Bracken. Lore is a really fun standalone Greek mythology, urban fantasy. I definitely recommend you check this one out. Now we're going to take a jump into some Viking and some Norse mythology. We have Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. And I recently talked about a Fate Inked in Blood in some of my last videos. It's a brand new book on the scene. It just came out like 2 months ago. It's a new debut from Danielle L. Jensen, who I adore. And obviously it's Norse mythology based on the Vikings. Again, we have a female lead, gorgeous Freya, who essentially gets discovered that she's a handmaiden. She is gorgeous, and the handmaiden thing like essentially means that like all of these like Viking rulers are essentially like trying to use her to control their destinies and to make sure that they can like essentially take over like the world or whatever. Anyways, the king of this land, who essentially like takes Freya into his control, has a very sexy son named Bjorn. And Bjorn essentially is in charge of like watching her and making sure that she stays safe because they need her alive. Bjorn. Let's talk about one of my new favorite book boyfriend himbos, Bjorn. Oh my gosh. Talk about your himbo with some Vikings. Like, Vikings, I feel like just give off that energy.
Oh, come on, I'm way too muscular for their taste.
They wouldn't know what to do with all this.
Like, they're just massive, muscular, like, animals, kind of. And I kind of live for that. I kind of live for that animalistic quality.
I did my best, but he's too fantastic.
And don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not here to say that Bjorn's dumb, because in no way I think he is. Like, he's lived a very hard life. He's had to survive and struggle. There's a crazy twist, like plot twist at the very end involving him, and like it just is like so shocking that like these things that he's been able to come up with. I just think that he kind of gives off like that himbo energy. He's extremely arrogant, shows up on the scene, sees Freya, and she immediately is like gobsmacked.
Holy crap, you're beautiful.
Like she sees him and she's like, oh my gosh, like this man's is gorgeous. And he knows it. He knows he's gorgeous. He knows he's all that in a bag of chips. I mean, let's be real. He's got like the dark hair and the icy blue eyes and or it's green, I can't remember. And he's just like, he's all so muscular and tanned and he's like walking out of the ocean when she first sees him and he's like shirtless and you're just like, and you start drooling a little bit. And he's just a little bit of like a fighter boy. Like he's very much like fighter energy. Like he just rather fight than flight. He's very much about like, he's just like, I got to get the job done. He's very much about like that energy of like, I got to do it and I got to do it now. And I'm like, he's one of those guys that's like, I got to punch it out. I got to punch it out. I can't just like think it out. I got to like work it out. I got to punch it out. And I feel like himbo energy kind of gives off that like, I got to work it out kind of energy. Got to punch it out. Got to fight it out kind of energy. Bjorn definitely has that. But I also love his possessiveness of Freya. Like it's very sexy. I love in books, literally. Okay. I'm not saying in real life because real life, like, ew, you know, but when a man gets a little possessive of his woman in a book, I'm just saying it's kind of sexy, okay? Like when he's a little bit possessive, when he's a little bit controlling, a little bit of like, you can't like, don't get anywhere near my woman. Like she's mine. Like I don't want anyone else near her. It's a little bit like, it's a little bit like, like a little bit like, I just love it so much. Like
I'm just obsessed with you.
Just a little, okay? I'm not saying a lot, but just a little, all right? And so this man's, you know, he's a little bit like possessive sometimes. He obviously wants her to do what she's gonna do, but he like wants to take care of her. He wants to like watch out for her. He has her back. He trusts her. And he's really just like looking out for her in the best way. And I just adore Bjorn. I think he's fabulous. I loved this book. So everyone should go check out A Fate Inked in Blood. Next we have not an oldie but a goodie, but like a slightly older, I would say like maybe like a couple of years ago. Miss Victoria Aviar just finished the third book in this trilogy. I have not read it yet. It is Realmbreaker by Victoria Aviar. Obviously, like I said, she's finishing up the trilogy. She just finished it and published it. And I'm really excited to read it. I haven't read the third one yet, but we have a very sweet, very cute, I would say a gentle giant of the himbos, like not very like arrogant or whatever, very more along the lines of like gentle giant vibes, but also like a little bit thick in the head, which like I kind of live when the gentle giant is just a little bit thick in the head. It's just gorgeous. We have Mr. Damacridian in Realmbreaker. To give you a quick plot summary of Realmbreaker, essentially it's about a young woman named Corianne, or Corianne, I don't know how to say her name. Corianne, whatever. Corianne essentially is like a young woman. She lives on the other side of the world. Her mother is like a recluse pirate. She doesn't know who her father is. She finds out that she's part of a lineage, like with an incredible bloodline that has the ability to essentially like open portals and close them. And there's another man, I think it's her uncle technically, who has also this same ability to like open portals, but he is evil, and she finds out that she needs to go and stop him. And so she essentially is bound together with an unlikely group of allies, a bunch of very interesting people who are going to help her essentially save the world. This book is very much like Lord of the Rings vibes, I'd say. Like it's very much like Fellowship of the Ring. Like you have an unlikely group of heroes like going on like a quest together.
I would have gone with you to the end. Into the very fires of Mordor.
It's a little bit more of a slow-paced fantasy. It definitely like builds as you go along, but it's very much like about this like one objective, like essentially like Frodo taking the ring to Isengard kind of vibes.
They're taking the hobbits to Isengard. God.
I meant Mordor, not Isengard. I'm a moron, guys. Sorry. Like these guys are all with the same objective of getting Corianne to find her uncle and to take the spindle blade from him, which is essentially the thing that opens the portals, but whatever. And I adore Damacridian. He's one of the members of this like group. He's an elf, very sexy, very tall, very imposing. And you know how I feel about elves and fae and all of that. He's very much like the bodyguard of this operation. He's very much like out to protect Corianne. Like he's very much like watching her back the whole time. I would say that his romantic interest is not with her. Like she's a little bit young for him, but there's someone else that a romance is a brewing in this book. And I really like it. And I like that, like, he just is kind of like, again, more of like a gentle giant type, like very much like a warrior, a fighter, a bodyguard, but also like a little bit more like thick-headed in some ways, like a little bit not knowing of the customs that go on around him because he's immortal and he's fae. I adore Don McCridian. I think he's fabulous. I adore anyone who's Fae, along with the Legolas vibes, but like bigger and thicker and like big and massive and just big, you know? So I definitely think everyone should check out Realm Breaker if you're looking for something more along the lines of an epic fantasy in the style of like Lord of the Rings, like a slow going but eventually like builds up to something. You'll love this gorgeous himbo, Dom McCridian. He's fabulous. Love Dom. He's everything. And last but certainly not least, when it comes to our himbos, our Book Boyfriend Himbo edition. And now before everyone comes to clamor down my throat and yell at me about this himbo, let me explain. We have a Court of Silver Flames, Mr. Cassian from ACOTAR. Okay, now I gotta explain, because everyone's gonna be like, Cassian he's not dumb, it's Cassian. I know, okay?
I know, I got it. I got the concept.
Listen, a lot of the book talk community has classified Cassian a little bit in the himbo direction. They think that, like, I think a lot of people classify him in the, like, dumb jock kind of, like, section of the book boyfriends. To me, he's more than that, okay? Like, I think that he is one of the sexiest, if not, like, he's in definitely my top 3, maybe top 2. He might honestly be number 2. He's like my number 2 book boyfriend under Mr. Daddy Rowan Whitethorn, but we already knew that. He's like my number 2, okay? Because Cassian is just so good. He's so good. And I, like, yes, I low-key classify him a little bit of the himbo category, a little bit of that snarky arrogance, a little bit of that toned, muscly body, a little bit of that, like, very sexual energy. Hello, it's a Court of Silver Flames. If you haven't read it, it's just sexual energy all over the place. We know this.
Just thinking about it, I'm like, whoa! Were you foaming at the mouth? I literally was.
And then, of course, like, very much of, like, the bodyguard aesthetic, very much of that, like, I have to protect the people that I love vibes. And sometimes a little bit silly, a little bit jokey. He's definitely, like, the comedic relief character in this book series, which, like, I adore. I adore the comedic relief character. They're always the ones that get killed off, though, and I'm so scared that someday this could happen to my baby boy. I really hope it will never happen. But Sarah J. Maas, I'm watching you. If that ever happens to Cassian, like, your days are numbered, baby. So watch yourself. So personally for me, like, yes, I do kind of classify Cassian a little bit in, like, the himbo category, but I think he's so much more than that, okay? Because, like, he's so honest and so kind.
This one is different. He's honest and he's sweet.
Please.
He would never do anything to hurt me.
He's a guy.
Besides,
He is the general of the Illyrian armies. Hello. Like, battle strategy is his thing. He knows what he's doing. He's extremely intelligent. And the way that he cares for Nesta in this book, oh my gosh, unbelievable. It's unbelievable how much he cares, because everyone has given up on her and he just keeps reaching out his hand. He keeps reaching it out, trying to get her to come back. And for that, I gotta love him. I gotta love a guy who wears his heart on his sleeve. And that's like one of my favorite lines in this book, is that Rhys and Azriel are basically both trying to tell him, like, brother, like, why do you just, like, wear your heart so openly on your sleeve for this woman to essentially, like, beat and tear and destroy? And he's like, because I can't help it, because I love her so much. He's like, I'll just wear it open. Like, I swear, like, whenever I look at him, it's like a bloody heart just, like, exposed and bleeding, like, everywhere, because he just can't help but wear his heart where everyone can see it. Like, he loves the people that he loves, and he loves Nesta, no matter what she's done, no matter who she's hurt, no matter that she's hurt him so many times. And eventually, like, obviously, as we know from A Court of Silver Flames, like, Nesta goes through an incredible character arc and an incredible journey that I adore. I'm a Nesta stan, personally. On this channel, we are Nesta stans, okay? I adore her. But I just love that Cassian is along for the journey. He's along for the ride, and he's willing to take it with her. And don't get me wrong, like, he knows what he's doing, like, in certain departments. Like, the sexualization of this man is insane. The objectification of this man is insane, and I'm going to join on with that bandwagon because, holy frick, are you actually kidding me? I'd like to lick the sweat off his abs. My gosh. I'd like to twist my fingers through his curly little man bun and the strands that are the tendrils that are left down. I'd like to cut my finger along his jawline because I know it's so sharp. Like, my gosh, this man is beautiful. And I love him, and I will objectify him. Sorry, I will. But I also know that he's not just a himbo, okay? He's much deeper than that. He's much, like, more loyal than that. He has so much more to give than that. And I'll die for this man. I'll protect him with my life. He gives off a little bit of that himbo energy, but my gosh, is he one of the greatest fictional boyfriends that has ever been written. And that is on period, people. On period. So that is all the Book Boyfriends Himbo edition that I have for you guys today. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you did, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Living Literature YouTube channel. As I said, guys, I am taking video requests, so please feel free to leave them down below in the comments. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. Again, if you don't agree with my opinions, sorry, not sorry. But also, these are just some of my opinions about book boyfriends that are slightly himbo-ish, giving off the himbo energy. But regardless, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you have an amazing day. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.